Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Jada Cook, and let's have a little chat. Let's get ready. So it's a brand new year, a brand new person. I feel like I'm really stepping into my purpose this year more than ever, and I kind of just want to talk to you guys about how I outgrew my old life and started to make a new one. And by saying that, I don't mean that my life looks 100% better. Like, you can look at my life and just say like, oh my God, she really upgraded. She really did this, that, and the third. But I can say that my life, my path has taken a 180. And I just want to share with you guys how I knew I was outgrowing my life, what I did once I felt that like shift, and where I am now. So if you're interested in, what was that? A bobby pin, okay. So if you're interested in anything that I have to say, just keep watching because it's a good one. All right, so getting into how I outgrew my life and started to create a new one. So we're gonna talk about how I knew that I was preparing, like getting ready to prepare for some kind of shift, some kind of change, how I knew that my life was just about to look a little different. The first way that I knew, I started getting signs from God. People that know me really well know that I have some kind of deep connection with moths. I know that might sound a little crazy, and at the time I wasn't really understanding why I was seeing so many moths either, but then I started doing research. Moths symbolize rebirth, change, transformation, resurrection, and the power of regeneration. Once I realized what moths symbolized, things started clicking a little bit more to me. I lived in an apartment last year, and around the time that I first moved in, there was this big, beautiful moth that literally just sat at my door. People would try to kick it, try to shoot away, and that moth was going nowhere. And that's when I kind of realized, okay, maybe this moth is trying to tell me something. And living in that apartment was for sure a mental change. I went through a lot mentally while living there that kind of just prepared me for the person that I'm growing into today. I feel like a lot of what I was going through while living there, I experienced alone. I was around people for sure, but people didn't really know a lot about what I was going through. I was also getting a lot of angel numbers, and a lot of the numbers that I saw the most were 2s. And so the fact that I can remember 2 distinct instances where moths were recurrent in that apartment, that's a sign in itself. I moved back home in August, and at the beginning of me living here, I had 2 instances with moths in my room. There were 2 moths that came into my room at nighttime twice, and this is when I started feeling a lot of shift and just a lot of different things that were happening in my life as far as friends, relationships, just situations. I could really tell that they were starting to look different. And by seeing, the moths, by getting angel numbers, by seeing the 2s, that was kind of, in my opinion, that was God telling me Jada, you're about to go through some kind of change. And I just want to let you know, this is what's happening. Another way that I knew that I was outgrowing my old life was because I was starting to feel very disconnected. First, we're gonna say from my friends. This has nothing to do with the people that I was hanging out with at the time. This has nothing to do with them, and really just everything to do with the person that I was becoming. But I was starting to feel really, really disconnected from them. I didn't want to keep doing the same things just on different days with the same people. I feel like my relationships weren't, I didn't have any deep connections, deep relationships with my friends at one point in time. And I didn't like that. I didn't like feeling like the only time that we were ever really friends was when we were celebrating something big, or if we were partying or drinking. I just didn't feel like I was personally connected to a lot of my friends. A lot of us, we weren't communicating feelings privately. All of our emotions, all of our feelings were kind of just a group thought, a group emotion. And I just didn't feel like I had personal connections. And personal connections were something that I was kind of craving. But at the time with this particular group, I just wasn't getting that from that group. So I could start to feel myself pulling away. I could start to feel myself disconnecting from, you know, people that I once labeled as forever. Not to say that there's any bad blood, any beef, anything with anybody that I used to hang out with, because with anybody that I used to hang out with, because I don't consider that to be the case at all. It's just that the path that I was entering, that wasn't the path that they were entering at the time. Everyone doesn't go through the same thing at the same time, and I couldn't expect for people to understand, you know, what I was going through. But it was really frustrating at one point, because by feeling like I was going through all of these changes, especially with my friend group, I would communicate like how I was feeling to certain people, and when no one could understand what I was thinking, when no one could understand or relate to what I was feeling, it was just really annoying, because it was just like, how do y'all not see what I see? How do y'all not feel what I feel? Like, do y'all feel like y'all are close to your friends? Do you feel like we're a unit? Do you feel like, you know, we're actually real friends to each other? Do y'all feel like these relationships are personal? And I just didn't feel that way, and I just didn't understand why no one else could relate to what I was saying. But I had to realize that just because I was experiencing something, just because I was going through the change that I was going through, just because I was outgrowing that part of my life, doesn't mean that other people were as well. And I couldn't expect for someone else to understand the things that I was going through, because that wasn't like the time for them to do so. It was mine. I didn't feel like I had people like close to me that could really understand the things that I was going through. Other than my ex-boyfriend, I just kind of felt like an outsider to my own friends, and I just didn't like that feeling. Like, it wasn't very comfortable, and I didn't want to keep putting myself in situations to feel like the outsider. I didn't want to keep doing the same things with the same people. Like, I wanted new experiences. I wanted deeper connections. I wanted a bunch of things that at the time, I just, like, that's not what was present. I knew that I was outgrowing this particular situation, or the friend group. Not saying outgrew my friends, but outgrew the friend group. Was I felt like I was going through really tough times, and there was no one there that was supporting me in the way in which I wanted a friend to support me. I'll get into more detail about this a little later. These are also like more signs. But during the month of April, I lost my grandfather, and I didn't feel as though my friends were there for me in ways in which I would want friends to be there for me. Like, people didn't really check on me to see how I was doing. People accused me of acting weird when I didn't come around, but no one really asked like how I was doing, or, you know, like how I was coping with the things that I was going through, how I was going through my grieving process. Like, no one was really there for me other than like a few people. And to me, it was kind of just like, these are the people that I spend the majority of my time with. And if I feel like I went through this major loss, this major change in my life, and y'all aren't really there for me for that, it kind of just made me feel like, well, if y'all weren't there for me during this, then what are y'all really gonna be there for? Like, it kind of just confirmed the disconnect that I was already starting to feel. But I pushed through. After we talked about like that particular situation, I felt as though, you know, things were gonna get better. People were starting to understand where I was coming from. And for a while that was the case, but it didn't last long. This next situation was kind of the biggest sign that I received. This is how I really knew that life was about to shift. And after this moment in time, my life really did shift. There is a time in March, it really allowed me to just tap into what I was feeling on the inside, and it started to reflect on the outside. So during this this night when I was with my friends, I had this like voice in my head that kept telling me to quit my job. And if you've watched my vlogs from the past like 2 years, whatever, you would know that I used to work at Ulta. But after the pandemic, like after COVID started, working that job was not the same. And it was starting to physically, mentally, and emotionally just drain me in ways that I didn't want to acknowledge. So during this night, there was just a voice in my head that I could not shake, telling me that I needed to quit my job. And all of the reasons were making sense. It's just like, Jada, you're truly not happy here. You're not able to do the things that you want to because you're so exhausted after you come home from work. You can't really, you know, hang out with your friends because you have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go to work. Just like little things. I was super scared because I didn't have a job lined up, but the voice in my head was just like, I don't care. I'm telling you that this is what you need to do. You need to quit your job. One of the managers at that job, I really liked her. And I knew that by quitting, she was going to struggle like a lot. And me just being the type of person that I was, it's just like, okay, Jada, you can stay for a little bit longer just to help her out. So rather than staying for the 2 weeks that I had initially told my boss, I decided to stay for about 3.5, 4 weeks total. I had already planned on taking some time off in April just because that was my birthday month. So that was a week that I was already going to not be able to work. And so that added on just like another week to me staying. This is when God was like, look, I keep trying to tell you that you need to leave this job, but you're not listening to me. So I'm literally going to show you that you don't need to be at this job. Right after my birthday, when I was supposed to come into work, I woke up super sick. And I didn't know what was going on exactly, but I just knew that I didn't feel good. So I told my boss that morning that I didn't feel like I could come to work just because I literally felt like terrible. I just decided just to go get tested for COVID just to be safe, just to see. Come to find out, I tested positive for COVID. So that was 2 weeks for sure that I could not go back to work. That was God saying, okay, you want to go back so bad? Now you absolutely can, but I'm still making a way by providing you with, resources and money to be able to sustain during this time period. 2 weeks had passed. Obviously wasn't concerned about work, but as soon as I was getting ready to go back to work, I hate to say that this was a sign from God. I hate to say that this was him trying to show me why I shouldn't go back, but I can definitely say that it shifted my focus to things other than work. The day before, I believe, I was going back to work, I get a call from my mom and I found out that my grandpa passed away. After that, it was kind of just like, work isn't on my mind anymore. Like, I know that I told y'all that I was gonna come and be here for about 2 more weeks, but I literally, I can't do it. My main focus is really just on healing, grieving, and family. But as soon as my grandpa passed away, I knew for a fact that I wanted to stay home. This brings me to my next topic. Once I started getting all these signs that, my life was starting to change, these are the things that I did. Once I could acknowledge that I needed to really focus on myself, I really needed to focus on, what life was trying to teach me, I started making changes to become, the Jada that you see today. During this time, I was super sad, super depressed, and I just couldn't acknowledge the fact that those are the things that I was feeling. I asked myself, like, Jada, what can you do in this present moment to work on yourself, to work on your emotions, to work on who you want to be? And once you figure out what you can do right now, start doing those things. And I did that. But all the things that I couldn't fix in that present moment, I kind of just pushed to the back of my mind. And those are things that I realized that I would have to work on later on in life. But I only focused on the things that I could fix in the present moment. Step 1 was moving back home. Once I did start seeing them more, it made me realize how much I missed like being around family. I told myself that I was gonna move back home to give myself time to work on, my connections with family and also with my friends that I had lost, touch with from being in school. Being away from a lot of my high school friends kind of just gave me tunnel vision to the people that I saw. It was harder for me to maintain relationships with people that were further away because they weren't like present in my life every day. They didn't know about what was going on in my life every day. But moving back home just kind of showed me no matter what, no matter how far people are, if people are important to you, in your life, you're gonna make it work no matter the distance. I also made new friends along the way. I was really afraid that I would be super alone once I moved back home. And don't get me wrong, during the first few months of me living back at home, those are some of the worst days ever. I tried to distract myself by just doing whatever I could because I didn't want to focus on the fact that, a major part of my life had changed. Like, I wasn't really friends with a lot of the people that I spent years developing relationships with. And so it was just really, really different for me. I also took a break. I feel like I was moving really fast, just trying to figure out life, and I couldn't keep doing that to myself. Like, I felt like I was literally just on autopilot, and I needed to take a break so that I could figure out who I wanted to be in that next chapter that I was moving into, but also who I was at that present moment. By taking that break, I took time to figure out things that I enjoyed, and that was super, super important to me. I found that I enjoyed, you know, sitting in nature. I also found that I enjoyed reading. When I was younger, reading used to be a really, really huge part of my life, but then it's something that I kind of just stopped doing as I got older. But by taking, you know, time for myself, I really just found out that I really still do enjoy, you know, reading. I like to explore, to try new things. I tried to get back into dancing. I really just tried to find myself, date myself, so that I could see, you know, what I trained myself to do that I actually didn't really like versus what I really do enjoy to do. And all the things that I enjoyed is what I continued working on, what I continued doing from then on present. I worked on communicating. You know, my feelings, not only with others, but with myself. At some point, I feel like I was lying to myself about a lot of the things that I felt I was going through. I was kind of just pushing my emotions aside for the sake of not wanting things to change. And once I realized that no matter what, things are gonna change, I just have to keep communicating and keep, you know, checking in with myself during all of these changes. I'm not gonna say that I cut ties with people, because naturally, like, my relationships with certain people kind of just faded away. And there's no bad blood, there's no beef, there's no, you know, negative emotions towards any of that. It's just like, we're in two different places in life right now, and I'll forever hold on to, you know, those memories, but that doesn't mean that the person that you are and the person that I am are aligned at this present moment in life. I outgrew a lot of people, I outgrew a lot of situations, I outgrew a lot of, you know, just relationships, all for the betterment of myself. I couldn't keep holding on to memories just to justify that I was still close to certain people. I was literally holding myself back. So the outcome of all of this, as I was saying, in life, we outgrow people, we outgrow relationships, we outgrow situations, and that is perfectly fine. I had to let go of the idea that everyone and everything was supposed to stay. I embraced, you know, the memories, but like I was saying, I didn't hold on to them. In order to grow, in order to truly blossom into the person that I wanted to be, I had to let go. Another thing that I did, I set boundaries, and I truly had to stick with them. Like, a lot of times I was sacrificing my true feelings and emotions for the sake of other people, and I couldn't keep doing that. Like, I would have a lot of things that I wanted to express, a lot of feelings that I wanted to get out, but for the sake of someone else's emotions, for the sake of other people, I just held things in, or I kind of let people walk over me at some point. But now I really had to set my boundaries and, like, let people understand that when I say no, like, this is what it is. And I had to learn that people's reactions to what my boundaries are, that's not my fault, that's not my issue. However someone chooses to react to the things that I want in my life, that's on them, but I can't control their reactions. And I had to really realize that. I had to stop entertaining things that no longer served me. I had to outgrow a lot of my old habits as well, like allowing myself to be sad for a very long time over certain situations, staying in bed until 2 p.m. when I knew that, like, there were other things I could be doing. I had to stop letting, like, certain emotions just take charge of my day-to-day actions. So another thing that I started doing, I just really stuck with, like, a morning routine, a night routine. I had to make sure that I was journaling to express my current feeling, just to reflect on, you know, what I was going through, so that I didn't have a lot of emotions build up that weren't being acknowledged. If I didn't go through, you know, all of this transformation, I would have never taken the time to realize, like, okay, Jada, you need to change your morning routine, you need to change your night routine, you need to eat healthier because it makes you feel better. So not only did I outgrow, you know, people and situations, I also just outgrew old habits. I had to change my mindset to the that girl mindset to an it girl mindset. I had to change my way of thinking to better myself. And I truly think it shows, like, One of the best compliments that I've been getting recently is from people telling me that, you know, they see me stepping into my purpose, or like they can see that I've, you know, really stepped into the person that like I was supposed to be. But wrapping this video up, here are just a few things to note. The first would be that your relationships are truly a reflection of you. If you're not trying to grow, you also attract people that are doing the same thing. You attract people that are like-minded. You attract people that are also not trying to grow. You know how they say birds of a feather flock together? In ways, this is true, because let's say if you hang out with 8 millionaires, but you just so happen to not be a millionaire in that group, when people see you, they're gonna see the 8 millionaires because that's the majority, and they're going to naturally assume that you are also like the rest of the group. So even if you consider yourself to be different from the people that you hang out with, from the outside looking in, you are the people that you hang around. I had to be mindful of the people that I was attracting and the relationships that I was kind of just like bringing into my life. Another thing to note is that it really is okay to let go. A big word for me now is surrender. It's not holding on to the idea that I have to be in control of everything. It's knowing that whatever my path is, whatever, you know, is for me, is truly gonna find its way to me. It doesn't matter if it's today, tomorrow, next week, next year. I have to let go of trying to micromanage every detail, every aspect of my life, because whatever's gonna happen, whatever's gonna come, it's going to come no matter what, you know, I do. And that's so beautiful. Change is scary, change is frightening, but the beauty in it is that when it all comes together, you realize how worth it everything was. And so yeah, that is how I outgrew my old life and just started to make a new one. I just had to put boundaries down. I had to assess the things that I was going through. I had to ask myself, you know, who did I want to be and what steps can I take into becoming that person? And I can truly say that I am stepping into my purpose every day. And it also means so much when people can see that I've stepped into, you know, the person that I've been trying to become. It's scary, and oftentimes it's lonely, but through all of that, you know, being alone, through all of the losing myself, through all of the crying, through all of the confusion, I found me. And that's more beautiful than the whole entire experience. It's just knowing that all of the hurt came together to make something so beautiful. And that's the person that I am today. So all in all, in 2022, I'm truly just excited to see, you know, how all the seeds that I planted, I'm excited to see how they grow, how they blossom, how they bloom. What I keep telling myself is that in 2021, I learned, but in 2022, I apply, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So for anyone who watched this entire thing, if you feel as though you're outgrowing something, no matter how scary it is, communicate it with yourself, communicate it with the people around you, and move forward. And yeah, that's just that on that. So if you liked this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out. Scout.